Good morning everyone, welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. I forgot that little intro yesterday, so caught up in daily vlogging. Anyway, it is Tuesday today, though I said Tuesday yesterday, but it's Tuesday today. And we're going to keep on going with the whole trying to film. So some of the kids are going to be going to craft morning this morning, so there will be less children around, which sometimes are pros and cons. I haven't decided exactly what I'm doing for the day yet, but we will see. But it rained overnight, which is nice. It means that it is not anywhere near as hot today, though if the sun comes blasting out, all this moisture will mean that it'll just be really humid, so we will have to see how that goes. But I was coming out to make coffee, but I brought Lamington out for a run, so I thought I would. Everyone's been asking about her, so I thought I'd show. We had goslings a little while back. For anyone who's been watching, we had to save from the parents because they kept on leaving them behind, and they've been released with the other ones too, so now we have this whole gaggle of geese, which is really lovely, so I'll show you them too. So let me turn you around. So Lamington is getting huge. She is definitely lamb size, getting up to sheep size. She's well fed and well loved, but she's very much dog-like, human-like, in that she is not real great with being on her own, and when she is left on her own, she cries and cries and cries. So she's sleeping on the patio still, which is driving me nuts. I just got one of the boys out to clean up any of the poo that's there. We've got like fake grass down, so we need to clean that up. Luckily sheep poo is solid, so that makes life easier, but it means that we've got loose and spread everywhere as well. Anyway, we need to build a night pen for her. It's not safe to have her out if she's going to cry of a night time. Too many predators around, though our dogs and stuff should deter them, but you never know. It's just, we'll want to make it safe. I noticed too that the kids didn't get the washing off the line last night, so the washing has been rained on, which is unfortunate. And then, as per usual, there's bits of stuff everywhere, but we've got the geese now, the 2 younger ones, and then the 4 original, and they're all wander around together in a gaggle, which is kind of neat to have that many. So, hey Lamington. So anyway, I'm going to head in and make coffee for the morning. All right, so I got carried away. It is almost 11:30 and I got caught up in busy work for all sorts of things on the computer and things like that. The boys have been doing, so the twins are home with me. Everyone else went to craft with Darryl. At some point we will get a vehicle where they can all go, but for the moment they take turns. So the twins are home with me. I printed out a whole bunch of Christmas craft, some that has maths, word search, cryptic puzzles, colouring, and the grids where you draw. It has a Christmas koala and you draw it on the other side, and Christmas trees with symmetry, all that sort of stuff. So it's like a 20-page booklet each for them to do. So they've been doing what they want to do in that, as well as playing with some of the clay still from the other day. Though we are running low on that. They have really enjoyed that. I will probably buy some more. I think Kmart sells some plain, not in the kits as well, but the extras that I bought were from Amazon, and Amazon's pretty quick shipping. I could probably order some and I'd get it in the next few days. But regardless, they very much enjoyed that clay, so that's something that I will do again. Now it is spitting, which has its pros and cons because it's not as hot, which is nice, but this roof leaks. So the floor's a bit wet and I have to be aware of it. This is the roof that needs replacing. We will get there. There is just some logistical parts of it that we're struggling with because we have to concrete poles in at the right distance from the roof, and we've got metal poles anyway, we're struggling a little bit getting it done, just Darryl and I. And James is who came out to help me with those portable buildings for anyone who was around when we did them. But he had knee reconstruction surgery as well a couple of months ago, so he's been a bit out of commission for a little bit, so we haven't been able to ask him for help either. So we've just been plodding along, but we are in the wet season. So for us, our wet season runs, sometimes it's before Christmas, sometimes we don't get much before Christmas, but sometimes it's before Christmas, and then the rest of the time is in sort of February, March. So it would be really nice to get this done before then. The other thing is that this will be a solid wall then, and I'll be able to put some closed shelving instead of all this open shelving, which will make life a little bit easier too. So we're getting there. It's slow. It's definitely slow, but we make progress. So that's the main thing. Still waiting on the quote for the roof for the back deck too, and see if I can swing that out of the sale proceeds and stuff from the Black Friday Christmas sale type thing. We'll see how we go with that. But yeah, so anyway, it's like 11:30 and I'm out in the kitchen. I'm going to do a few things. Now, the boys have requested some more popcorn, so I'll pop some popcorn up first, same as I have for the last couple of days. We're low on other snacks, so like rice crackers and rice cakes and things like that, because we're only a week out from the groceries. They're pretty low, so popcorn becomes a relied upon snack when that happens, which is fine by me because everyone likes popcorn and it's super easy. And then I was going to make Dutch baby for the kids for lunch. So the other kids won't be back for a little while, but they'll eat it cold or they'll reheat it anyway. And we've got an overabundance of eggs at the moment because we just obviously haven't been using them as much. So we've got like both trays, double drawers full of eggs in the fridge, as well as an extra bowl. So Dutch babies use 18 eggs. So I will do a Dutch baby up and cook that up for them to have. Though I'm not sure if we've got any maple syrup, but we do have some caramel syrup, I think, and there is plenty of honey, so that's fine. So let's get that sorted, and then I might do a little bit of an experimentation. We've got all that chicken, and there's all these recipes for shredded chicken, like they call it a buffalo chicken dip. I don't have any buffalo sauce or anything like that, but chicken dips with melted cheese and things. But on the keto carnivore, we don't have a lot to dip into that. So, and that's something that I'm going to miss because I make a really nice caramelized onion bacon cream cheese dip too. So I think I'm going to try and attempt to make some crackers. I did those cheese ones the other day. Not overly enamored of them. They were okay. Not really. A lot of cheese, a lot of cost, and they were okay. So I think I'm going to try and make some I'm going to swap out some almond flour and stuff for the like normal bread flour that I would use. I'll do a mix of almond flour and coconut. That was Lamington. A mix of almond flour and coconut flour because I find that works the best for absorbency. I also ordered, I'll get started and I'll keep talking. All right, so Dutch baby first. Now, Dutch baby is super simple, but really effective. Now, when I'm using, anyone who has chickens would be aware that you don't crack eggs directly into what you're baking because you just risk cracking things that you don't want. As much as these, at the moment we're storing the eggs in the fridge because the ambient temperature is so high that they start developing on the bench. But at the same time, if a nest is missed and a child doesn't get to the nest for a while, then you crack an egg and there's stuff in it that you don't want in your food. So we start off with 18 eggs and I'm just going to crack each one into the thing. Now we do have some hens that have only just started laying, so they have these tiny little eggs in comparison. So I might use 2 of these occasionally for what I'm doing. So I've got 3, 4, and then a tiny one. So doing bad with shells today. So let's grab another tiny one and count those 2 as 5. At least the shells are really nice and tough. It means that they're getting plenty of calcium. So 5, 6, 8. We're going to go up to 18. Time consuming task. Always seems longer when I'm recording it and having to be aware. 15. One of these new chickens must lay a really, really pretty blue egg. That's a very bright blue compared to some of my others. And I've lost count now. I think it was about 15. These ones are little ones. 16, 17. These little ones are very unlikely to be pollinated. But fertilized. But there's some really nice blues coming out of those pens. So that's cool. And we'll call that 18. So I need to put all these shells away to we either dry them and crush them and put them back to the chickens. Some go into the compost, some go into the garden. It really just depends on how many we've got at the time and the time I've got to want to do anything with. But there's 18 eggs in here. I'm going to put this over the sink and get a cloth No microfiber cloths in the drawer, but a lightweight tea towel wet will work just the same. So, all right, so we've got 18 eggs, and then we do 600 grams of milk, which I'm using coconut cream. So we're going to stick it in the Thermomix because we want lots of air in this. So we're going to get to the scales, and we're going to use, this is the coconut cream. This is the goon bag coconut cream, which I didn't realize goon bag was an Australian term, but the reason it's called a goon bag is because people call cheap wine goon, and cheap wine comes in casks that has that silver bag inside it, so that's why it's referred to as a goon bag. So we're going to put 600 grams of coconut milk in there. Now this is coconut cream that's been watered down slightly, so you can put more water, less cream, like it's up to you how you want to do it, but this has already been watered down. So and because Darryl and I aren't using coconut cream as much at the moment, we're not going through it as fast, so using it as cream is not such a big deal. So we've got 600, and then we're just going to do 350 grams of plain flour. So let me get my flour barrel. This one is baker's flour. Plain flour is underneath. So plain flour, 350. Now, I don't season this any further because the kids can season it, and I'm not precise if you can, I don't know if you can see the scales from there, but it says 379. It really doesn't matter. But I don't season this because they're going to have it with whatever they put on top, whether it's jars of my apples from the shelves, maple syrup, or a bit of caramel syrup, or whatever. So I'm going to just, now we're going to mix this, and we're going to do it on fast. So I'll step over here. Hopefully the noise of the blender isn't too bad. Oh, it's very loud. We'll wait. I'll cut that sound out. I did that a few times on the other one. So we're going to do it on speed 5 for 30 seconds, but I'm going to scrape it down in between. Just have to find a spatula. We're just going to scrape it down, make sure that no bits of flour are anywhere caught. And then we're going to turn it back on again, because what we want is we want lots and lots of air in that batter. So about 30 seconds in total. Now, one of the ways to get this to cook nice and puffy and do what we want it to do is you preheat the pan. So let me grab a cast iron pan. All right, this is one of my classic cast iron roasting pans. I adore these. I use these for a lot of things. They end up marked, especially because we use open flame in there, and you can clean them, but you do have to be careful not to take the ceramic off. So most of the time, we're not overly concerned. Some people are though, but for cast iron, it always looks a little grubby. Like these are supposed to be red. This one, you can see a little bit of red there, but that's fine. So what we need to do is we need to melt some fat in this and then get this pan really piping hot. So I cook Dutch babies in the barbecue rather than my new oven, because you want this really hot before you pour the batter in, and if I do it in the oven I have to pull it out to pour the batter in, and it's really awkward. So I do it in the barbecue because that way I can just pour the batter in by lifting the hood on the barbecue. Now I need a spoon for the ghee. My cutlery drawer is at a significant distance to where I am, and we're going to do a big scoop of ghee in the bottom, and all we're going to do is just do that and then let it melt. So I'm going to stick this in the oven and let the pan heat up and that melt. And then I might do the popcorn for the boys while I'm waiting for that. All right, so it's well and truly hot and melted, and what I just do is I carefully pour the batter into the fat so that that's going to create the non-stick layer as well. Pour it all the way in, just like that, and you can already see it starting to create skins and stuff around the edge, and then I just close the lid. All right, popcorn done. Boys given it, and now we're going to try and see if I can get a dough that I'm happy with for these crackers. So there's some pretty standard sort of ratios that people use for the different flours with different things. So I'm going to go with a cup of almond flour, which I'm running quite low on until I get shopping in, though I can make almond meal with whole almonds in the Thermomix. I just can't make it quite as fine as the flour. And we're going to use some coconut flour. Now I just had to, it's been vacuum sealed, so it's a bit crumbly and set into a bit of a block. But I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of this to go with that cup of almond flour. So coconut flour sucks up a lot of moisture, which I think is the benefit, but also a problem with it. So, but I think mixing the 2 of them together works quite well because of that. So we're going to give it a go. We'll go 2 tablespoons, and I'm going to add a little bit more just for good measure because it's so compacted. We'll put some baking powder in there, and see, baking powder. We'll just put a teaspoon of baking powder in there, and then we'll put a bit of salt because, you know, salting crackers, just like 1/4 teaspoon. I might put a little bit of garlic powder in there too. Just a sprinkle of garlic powder, and we're going to add an egg, but I think I might add some of the ground padano as well. So I'm going to grab that out of the freezer. I still want them to have that slightly cheesy flavour, but without the being made on nothing but cheese. We're trying to reduce the cost a little bit, but also make the texture a little more crackery. So I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of that in there, which is probably about 45 grams. And then we're going to mix this together as if I was whisking it, except I need a clean lid because that one's got Dutch Baby on it. I'm very lucky that I've got 3 Thermomixes, but sometimes finding the parts for each one is a challenge. All right, so I got a dry lid. I'm just going to put it on like speed 4 for, I must have the bent bowl again. Just going to mix that all up, get that coconut flour broken up as well as the cheese spread through. And then I'm going to crack an egg, a nice big one of my Moran eggs. And while this is going, I'm going to put that in there. And have a look at the texture. It's definitely going to need a bit more of something, and I think the next thing would be to add fat. So I'm going to add a heaped dessert spoon of ghee. And that looks like it's coming together. So we'll pull that out and we'll have a look. So that definitely looks like a dough. It's very soft because there's no gluten and that in it, but I think it's going to be easy to work with. So that's what we're going to leave it at for this particular try. One thing about talking while I'm cooking like this and experimenting is that I'm saying what I'm doing. So when I go back to try and do it again, I'll be able to look at these videos, because sometimes I do it, and because I do the voiceovers afterwards, I don't really know what I've done, especially if you can't see the scale marks on the Thermomix in the video. So, you know, this is handy. All right, so I'm going to grab a piece of baking paper because it might need to be rolled directly on the baking paper. So we might grab 2 pieces so we can do it in between the 2, because it's still a very soft dough. So let's try tipping it out on here. Tilt the camera down a little bit. So I'll tip it out on here. And we'll bring it together a bit. It's pretty malleable, yeah, it feels all right. So we'll do that, and then I'll grab my rolling pin, but I will grab the other piece of baking paper. I'm just going to give this a quick rinse. All right, so it's been getting rained on, so we're giving it a quick rinse, and then we're going to use the baking paper, and I'm going to try and get it to roll out. Now, this baking paper is around about the size of my baking trays, so we're just going to see what we can do texture wise, because this is very much an experiment. I just looked at a bunch of different, like I normally make olive oil crackers with sourdough starter, so I sort of looked at the ratios of that and then versus the ratios of keto flours and stuff, and we're going to give it a go. Now, there is a channel here on YouTube called Victoria's Keto Kitchen, and she has this mix of flour that she says is interchangeable for most gluten-free products. Like if you look at a gluten-free recipe, then the keto flour will work with that. And it's a blend of different things. It's a blend of almond flour, oat fiber, bunch of things. I can't remember. I don't have it written down. But I ordered some oat fiber off Amazon to give it a go, because I'm going to do a bunch of baking Christmas. Like I want to make Darryl and I a trifle and things like that with like a vanilla sponge made out of keto ingredients, because I love trifle, and custard and all that easily fits into the keto carnivore diet. Is just the cakes and jellies and stuff, and I can make jelly sugar free, and so I'm going to give it a go anyway. But to do the baking of the cakes and stuff, like a sponge or whatever, I've been looking at a bunch of different recipes, but I think that maybe using the keto flour mix and making it work myself, because I am used to sort of fiddling with recipes to make things work, that I might be able to get a whole bunch of things that I can make out of that flour. So I thought it was worth the investment of the oat fiber, which isn't something that I would normally use in anything, but even if I make a couple of kilos of the flour up, then that's fine. Now, we are, as I said, running short on almond flour because I don't normally buy more than a bag. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, and we have been using it for all the chaffles, but at the same time, we've only gone through this one bag this 8-week period, so we haven't gone too badly. But at Christmas, the Christmas baking will use some up, so I'm gonna have to buy a couple of bags this shopping trip, but I also don't want to overuse it either, because I don't want to be replacing what we're doing with expensive ingredients. So, you know, there's that balancing act. Now this looks nice and thin. I feel like it's pretty even, and it was fairly easy to roll out, so I feel like, because I want it nice and thin, I want these to be crackers. I don't want it to be thick biscuits. I like when I make my sourdough crackers, they're really nice and thin and flaky. That's how I like my crackers. So that's what I'm going for. So I've got a rectangle-ish piece here. Let me grab a baking tray. All right, got a big baking tray. I might put that there because depending how this works, I might make one more batch, though we are very low on almond flour, so maybe not, because then I won't have it for chaffles and stuff for the next week until I go on the next groceries. So I'm going to just peel that back, and that worked really nicely. So that's good. Now I can't find my cracker roller anywhere, which is annoying. I have this very cool, it's a Thermomix branded cracker roller, and it's crimped and it cuts in triangles and it rolls. So you roll it out and cut it in triangles, which would be perfect because then I'd have triangles for dipping into things, but I can't find it. So I'm going to see if I can figure out the pattern required to do it. So we start with triangles, and then we can take the triangles that way, that way. These aren't going to be perfect, but it'll be fine. See, it does it crossed as well, like that. That's how we do it. So we go that way, that way, that way, that way. So we put lines across the middle, and we create these are going to be some odd shaped ones in here because I couldn't figure that out initially, but that's fine. So we're going to create some horizontal lines, which makes sense because the roller rolls horizontally. And of course, these aren't going to be anywhere near as straight as if I had a roller. And then within those lines, we create more triangles like that, which makes complete sense once I realize what I'm doing, but was really hard to get my brain to work around for some reason. Nothing's even, but we're we don't care. In the end, we are doing a roundabout triangles so that it makes it easier for dipping into the dip, but we've got some that are very much not triangles. Anyway, so whose idea was this to do this, live so that you could see all my screw ups? Anyway, triangle-ish pieces. Anyway, now I'm going to put this back on the tray, and then I'm going to get these in the oven. So this is what the Dutch baby looks like when it's first done. It will sink as it cools, but this is, when it's first comes out, it's got all the side bits and all the bits of butter and everything in there. And you just cook it till it's not liquid in the middle. So the kids will eat this. I'll call the boys out if they want some, and all I do is I slice it into pieces, and people ask all the time what it's like, and I say it's a little bit like a baked custard, because it's done the way it is with lower flour and things like that. See, it's sort of like a baked vanilla custard. That's how I describe it as. So it's somewhat savory, it's super tasty, and it's very filling. So the boys can have that now if they want, or they can wait, and the other kids will have it cold. I'll put a cover over it and they'll just eat it cold. So yeah, it's a really good breakfast. I probably have jars of stewed apples, cinnamon apples on the shelf, so I'll probably grab a jar of those out in case they want it with it as well. So the boys do want some stewed apples, so we've just got some stewed cinnamon apples off the shelf that we're just going to pop open now. And we just scoop some of these cinnamon apples over the top, and then that'll sweeten, the little bit of juice will sweeten the as well. Yummy?
Yep.
Did you want more apples, or is that enough?
No, that's enough.
Alright.
And if I want more,
You can have more. Yep. They've started browning around the edges and stuff, so I'm a little bit concerned about overcooking the edges. So what I'd like to do is sort of break them up and split them up a little bit. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do, is just sort of snap them along the lines that I've scored them and spread them out a little bit. But it's looking good. It's really nice and thin, and it's feeling like it's almost crispy. So, but these middle ones, I'm concerned, are going to be a bit too soft. So I'm going to spread them out and see, and then put them back in for a little bit and see how it goes. All right, so most of these cheesy chicken dips are basically just shredded chicken mixed with a couple of different types of cheese and then baked. So I think the crackers are going to work for that, and it gives Della and I something a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is, I've got the smoked chicken here, the plum chicken here, that we did yesterday, and I'm going to use the Thermomix to shred some of it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of it in here, like that, in these tenders. And then I'm going to turn it on reverse. So turning it back on, it's been turned itself off, so it's turning on again. And I'm going to change the blade to reverse and then put it on speed 3 maybe. I ended up speed 5 to see for the movement of see how it looks. So there you go. It's basically just shredded chicken. It's not shredded particularly neatly. It's more like slightly minced chicken, but it's very doable. It works. It shreds chicken better if it's hot. When you're trying to shred it when it's cold, it's not as good. Ends up sort of minced texture, but that's fine. So there'll be different textures in there too, which isn't a bad thing either. Some will be smaller, some will be bigger. So I've got that, and all I'm going to do, it says, is to put in a baking dish. Most of the recipes just have cream cheese, cheddar cheese, grated cheddar cheese, and then some like hot sauces and stuff. So I'm just winging it. I don't want to make too big a batch, though I'm sure this can be reheated, but I've got very dusty cast iron dish here. So it's one of these cast iron dishes. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to pour, so we want it heavy on the chicken realistically, because that's your proteins and stuff. And the chicken is the plum seasoned, so it's not like it's not flavorful. So I'm going to just pour all that chicken in the bowl. Let's tilt you down a little bit. All that chicken in there, and then I'm going to use a little bit of the grana padano because it's flavorful, and the other cheese that I have is just black and gold tasty, so a little bit of that to add some flavor. Then we've got the shredded, just cheap shredded tasty cheese, which I'll put some in. Again, you don't want too big a serving here because it's just Darryl and I, though it will reheat. So I could possibly do this reheated with something else for dinner as well. So a bit of that. Now, I only have what's left in this container of cream cheese. Darryl's grabbing some more today. Let me grab a spoon. And I'm just going to put what's left in here in there. And I'm going to put some sour cream as well because I don't, like, this is limited cream cheese, and I reckon just need a little bit more liquid to help it turn into sort of a dip type thing. So I've got some sour cream open here, a bit of cream cheese on the spoon. It's not going to hurt anything. It's all dairy. So a couple of spoonfuls of that. And then it says just to basically mix it all through. So not the easiest thing in the world. I possibly could have done it in the Thermomix, I suppose. But we're just going to mix all this through, pull the crackers out and stick this in the oven instead. Alright, so that looks super unappealing, but I think it'll be tasty. I'm going to put a little sprinkle of the cheese over the top just to create a bit of a skin on it. And then I'm going to just put it in the oven and we will see how it goes. Alright, so I did go heavy on the chicken, lower on the cheese, but I've just pulled it out and given it a stir, and it's all nice and, you know, mushy, which is how we want. This is what the crackers turned out like. They're a good colour, they're nice and crisp. I don't know how well they'll hold up to dipping though, because they're a little bit fragile. Oh no, look, there we go. So this is a good start anyway. I'm not sold on the crackers as they are, but definitely a good start. Alright, it is 3 o'clock. The kids and Darryl haven't been home that long. We had some lunch, some of the dip and chips, biscuits and stuff. We're going to do an iced coffee frappe because I just feel like something a little bit more. So Darryl bought a bag of ice from the service station because it's the small ice that you need when you're using it in the Thermomix, and it's really hard to get enough in our ice trays to do this with. We manage sometimes, but we're struggling. I am contemplating an ice machine, but the power to run it, it's just ugh. So all I do is about 5 handfuls of ice in there, and then I add in 100 grams of, or 100 mils of cream, which is about two servings of, like, when I have it in my food diary, when I was doing a food diary initially, 50 mils is about how much I use in my big coffee twice a day. So it worked out as that was like the serving that I was using for them. The servings on this are 20 mils, which is less than 1 gram. So 100 mils is 2.6 grams of carbs. So between 100 with the 100 mils of, never going to be able to get this open, am I? 100 mils of cream is 2.6 grams of carbs in a iced coffee, and that's fine between the two of us. So I do 100 mils between the two of us. Now, sometimes I use the iced mocha macro mic protein powder, but that would be more of like a first thing in the morning thing when we haven't already had the protein that we've had for the day. So this is just going to be a plain, no carbs except the cream, because if I use the macro mic protein powder, then there's like 5 grams more carbs between the two of us there too. So I do a tablespoon of instant coffee between the two of us. I'm just using plain Nescafe, and then I worked out that it's 40 to 50 grams of this monk fruit blend sugar, and I like the brown for this, so about 40 to 50 grams is enough sweet for us. It's not particularly sweet, but it works. And then I'm just going, this one was empty, so I'm going to put a little bit of water in it and top it up with a little bit of water as well. So also about the 100 grams of water. Then just got the lid on and whiz it up on high. And we've got a frappe. That was 10 seconds. There's some chunks of ice in there. It could go a little bit longer, but that's all we do. And then it's just a sugar-free, low-carb pick-me-up in the afternoon in the heat rather than having a hot coffee. And so yeah, so I'm going to grab a couple of cups and we'll pour it out. And it's not even full big cups each, but it's plenty. I should use my the smoothie cups that I sell in the shop, but I haven't pulled any out for Darryl and I yet. I will before Christmas because they're always good, because you have to drink it with straw when it's a icy frappe like this, because it's not really drinkable by pouring, and you need to be able to stir it to stir the ice and stuff back in. So kids have their smoothie pops and we have our iced coffee. Now I had to wash this bowl, mind you, to make it, because I've used all 3 bowls today, but you know, the things we do for a bit of extra coffee. So that's that. Just another little treat that we have as I said, afternoon pick-me-up. Alrighty, it is almost 5 o'clock and I haven't really done much else I've done plenty. I had to do a proof for a family tree up for an order that's come through, and once that's approved, I can get it cut. And I did some other admin-y type stuff, but I haven't done anything else that I've recorded. So I've just come out to the garden. I really need to get out here and pull more weeds. And because I wanted to check the soil dampness, because we've got the problem at the moment with watering in that we're using the same pump for the animal water as we are for the garden. So we are using a battery operated pump at the moment to do our watering for both of those things. And the battery operated pump doesn't have a pressure tank on it. So it means that when you turn it on, it's on, and you can't, kinking the hose and stuff is really bad for the pump, because the impeller is going to be compromised if you do it too much, sort of thing. So watering has become a little bit challenging to do on your own, sort of thing. So normally we get 2 of the kids out here to give me a hand or whatever, so we can turn it off and on without causing too much issues. But I don't think it's going to need watering. There's been enough rain that everything looks pretty wet. It feels pretty wet an inch or 2 down, so I think I'm just going to leave it for the moment. But I've left the zucchinis open for the moment just to let them air out a bit. But they're just, I need to prune them again. But I was going to show you that I don't think I mentioned it last time, that the first lot of tomatoes that I put in, the dwarf tomatoes, were doing really well, but I don't think I showed you. So you can see that the stems on these are really nice and sturdy and thick, so hopefully that these ones will do really well. And the marigolds in the middle are coming up really well too, and nice and high. So other than these masses of weeds, that it's all this sort of thing, and they're big heavy stems. So other than these, which of course you want to pull out of the ground rather than trim. I was talking to someone in the comments about how whippersnippering it would work, and Sonnet normally does do some whippersnippering for me, but hasn't. I've run out of the coils, the like the fishing line on the coils sort of thing. So I need to order some more for her, and she'll probably come out here and she'll whippersnip all these paths for me down a bit. It doesn't work like these big ones here. It doesn't work completely because they come back, but it definitely maintains things a little bit and helps out with, reducing it. So I don't know if anything's been, I think that post just rotted out with all the rain. So these are the boysenberries. We are getting some nice new canes in, so I'm just leaving them for the moment. I can Florida weave them later, but I'm just coming out to here to check. So the soil doesn't look too bad. It's not super wet, but it's okay. And some of the calendula is finally coming back, so I'm okay with that. I do need to figure out a way to get this guajillo pepper standing up. But these were the other tomatoes that I planted out. So they're all surviving at the moment, but none of them are looking fantastic. We will see how they go. And it was worth putting them in the ground. So that's what I did the other day. So I just wanted to share an update on that. And then we've got, as I said, the zucchinis need to be pruned back again, because I left the lid open to see if we got a bit more opportunity for pollination in here, but there's no insects around at all. So again, I think there's just not anything happening with insects. So we got this one here that I forgot to come out this morning, so we're a little bit late on pollinating this one, but we should be all right. So I've got a male flower. Again, it should have been first thing this morning when it was most potent pollen and everything, but we will do it anyway. So we've pulled all the petals off that one, and we're going to stick it on the inside. Oh, I can't see what I'm doing. On the inside of this one, and hopefully that will be enough, and we'll get at least that one out of it. But everything's getting wild in here again, so I'm going to need to come out here with some snips and cut everything back again, all this lower pieces. Though the problem is that when you're pruning it and then there's some rain, you can get some fungal issues, so have to be careful. But there's no sign of any powdery mildew anywhere. Maybe a little bit in here on this leaf. So, but generally speaking, because these are all a variegated leaf, it's not powdery mildew on these. So, but I need to come in and clean out all in underneath again with all this added rain. So anyway, I just thought when I came out here, I'd bring it out here to show, even though it just invites ridicule on the state of my garden and the mess. But, you know, I'm sharing today. But other than that, that's it for today. I'm going to cook some, I don't know what Darryl and I are having for dinner, just some chicken and stuff maybe. I'm not real sure, but I think I'll do the pesto pasta that I always do for the kids with some of the chicken. So I'll show that when I go in and make that. It's only just 5, so I won't start it just yet. But I just wanted to come out here now, because if they're going to be watering the animals, then now's the time to also use the pump to water the garden. But everything seems wet enough for today, and we're supposed to get a bit more rain, so I'm just going to leave it for the moment and we'll see how we go. But I'm pretty happy with how everything's looking at the moment. Of course, the weeds need controlling, but the weeds aren't in the garden beds either. They're just in the paths. And so, you know, that's just, it is, you know, it is. But yes, I'm coughing a lot of flack about the state of the place, and that's just life. So, but yeah, that's it. That's all for today. So I hope you've enjoyed another day. I will close off with I'll show the pesto chicken, but I probably won't have a chance to come back out and like finish the video. So I thought I'll do that now, and then I'll start getting everything sorted for dinner and stuff, and I'll show all that to you, and then I'll have already sort of said see you tomorrow, depending on, you know, if I've got stuff to share. I always seem to have stuff to share. It's just whether it's actually interesting enough to share. But, you know, so yeah, so almost dinner time, and then the end of another day. And as much as, you know, everyone says to enjoy things when you're in them and all the rest of it, and don't wish it away, ends of days are kind of nice. It's kind of nice to know that you hit the end of the day, have a shower, and can sit in the watch some YouTube. I'll have to edit these videos every night at the moment because I'm doing daily videos. I'm having to edit every night, which is fine. That it's my choice. But then I tend to just watch some mindless YouTube or read a book or something, and just do not a lot of anything. That's my evening, you know, that's what I do of an evening. After I've had a shower, there's not much that goes on. So yeah, I will show you dinner, and then I will see you tomorrow. So for dinner tonight, we're doing super simple pesto pasta for the kids, since we've got all that chicken cooked up. So I'm going to I'll get some out to cut up and heat through, but I've got a short, I'm pretty sure, of the pesto pasta that I make on the channel. I'm going to start with 6 egg yolks. I've got water on the stove to boil for pasta. And I'm making a mess on my nice clean bench, as per usual. And we're going to go 6 egg yolks. This was a tiny one. Brand new layer, that one. Nice tough shells, so I'm glad there shows that they're getting enough calcium, enough grit. Good sign when your fresh layers have nice tough shells. Alright, so we've got 6 egg yolks there, though I might grab a couple more because some of those were really, really tiny. So I'll put these in the compost, grab a couple more. I'll grab a couple of bigger ones to add in. That shell. Alright, so I've got the egg whites here, I'll put them in the fridge, I'll do something else with them. And we've got 8 egg yolks in here. Now we need the pesto. Now this might be the last pesto pasta they have this month, which is unfortunate, because they normally have it while I'm away because it's an easy meal to make, but for some reason it looks like we've used up all the pesto this month. So 2 jars, sometimes I use 3 when they're having double the amount, but these are the last 2 jars on the shelf. So we're going to use 2 and I'll just flavour it up a little bit more. Now I'd like some lemon juice. Now I appear to have run out of bottled lemon juice as well, so I've only got some frozen stuff, which is fine, but it's frozen. So I'm going to use a little bit of oil in the bottom of these jars to get all the pesto out, because I normally add oil to this dish anyway. So if I put a bit of olive oil in the bottom, give them a shake. I'm going to still need to find one of the really narrow spatulas. Otherwise there'll be too much left behind. Here we go. Nice narrow one. Simple meal, just becoming a little bit more complicated, but that's fine. So get this all in. I don't know if you can hear the generator going as well, because the solar is really low because it's been overcast all day, so it's going. So we've got the egg yolks, the pesto, a bit of oil, and we will also add some vegeta because we've got this lack of pesto. It looks like a lot, but when you add all the pasta, it's not quite enough. So we'll add just a sprinkle of vegeta just to boost the umami. And I'm going to also add some cowboy candy and probably the end of the nutritional yeast bag too. So this bit of nutritional yeast that's left as well. So that's all mixed. So now I'm going to grab, I'm just going to put that in there to defrost. And I'm going to grab the chicken out and the cowboy candy and a cutting board. We've got cowboy candy that we're going to just put a decent drizzle in there. Mix that up. That lemon juice is defrosting in there as well. And then I'm going to cut up a bunch of the chicken. Now this is the chicken that was cooked on the stove, not the stuff that was cooked in the smoker. So this is fully cooked, no matter, like, you know, because the other stuff we're going to have to make sure it gets heated a certain amount because I'm just not 100% sure that it's cooked all the way through. So this stuff is fully cooked though. So I forgot to mention in the last couple of videos, Darryl asked me to, and I kept on forgetting. So one of the things that I get asked about is what we do for, you know, making money and all that sort of stuff. And I've mentioned before that Darryl does conversions for Dungeons and Dragons, and he does it for virtual tabletops. So one of the clients that he works for did a Christmas one called Figgy Puddin', and it has been converted for a bunch of different platforms. So it's not just 5e, it's Pathfinder and Dark something. This is Darryl's area, not mine. I will put it up on the screen. Anyway, that particular Christmas adventure has gone up for sale. It's now been released and is up for sale, and I said I would put a link to it, so if you're interested in seeing what Darryl does, that's what he does, and that's the kind of product that he does, and he gets, you know, paid to convert these. He also can earn a commission sometimes on sales of them, depending on where they're sold through and stuff. So I'll put an affiliate link in the description box, and if you're interested or have someone, I know that a few people have mentioned that their sons play, so if they're interested in a Christmas adventure, it looked really cool when he was converting it. The art was really funky, so if anyone's interested, that's there. And I have now remembered to mention it because I kept on forgetting. So, you know. So I'm just going to cut all this chicken up because it's the last of the container. And then I'm just going to wait for the pasta to cook, and then I'll come back. Alright, so the egg yolks are in here, and by putting the hot pasta with some of the pasta water straight into the pesto and egg mix, it will cook the egg yolks and make a creamy sauce. So just want to temper the eggs with the first bit of pasta, and then keep adding it. If you put too much, you don't want to pour water into there because you'll scramble the egg yolks. So you want to heat it up with the pasta to temper it, and then keep on adding. And then we're going to add more hot water to it as well to loosen it up once all the pasta's mixed through. And I decided I'm not going to heat up the chicken. I've just cut it up really nice and small. It's, as I said, it's the chicken that was cooked on the pan and not the one that was cooked in the smoker. So it's guaranteed to be cooked all the way through. So we can get all the pasta out of here. And we're going to need some of this liquid. And now because we only had the 2 pesto jars as well, it's looking a little pale. But I added those extra flavourings in there, so it should be fine. And then we'll just tip the chicken in. If I had a scraper, I'd use that, but I'm going to use my nice clean hands. And mix that up. Darryl's creeping in to do his hand sweep for you. So you gotta have your daily hand sweep from Darryl. So there we go. Chicken, pesto, pasta, one of the kids' favourite meals, something completely simple, but it's what they like.